right, you're welcome to the inaugural show. We are going to be talking about Fishes League today. I'm Z, and I've got Coop on the mic.
How's it going, everybody? Feeling a little antsy about this next year, but I think everything's going to be good.
Yep. So have to bear with us. This is our first time doing this, and so we're just going to dive right in. And the first team, or the last team, I guess,
The toilet bowl.
the worst team, is going to be a little fishy.
Uh-huh.
So we were going to go through and just talk about his team a little bit here.
Yeah, the ratings were not nice to him,
Not at all.
although he does have some solid pieces. I will give him that. I mean, I do like Trevor Lawrence, and if Deshaun Watson
Absolutely.
can not massage people the wrong way, we might be okay.
Yeah, quarterback wise, he's definitely strong there with long term and short term. I think both quarterbacks with Watson and Lawrence are going to be just fine. Not sure why he still has Brady and Matt Ryan on his roster. I'm guessing those are going to be removed before the season starts. So
Probably right at draft time.
yep.
Then moving into his running backs, this is where it gets a little interesting. Still waiting to see what happens with Zeke. I know you being a Cowboys fan are probably hoping he comes back at a reduced cost.
Absolutely, he's the heart and soul of the Cowboys. So I really hope he returns. But, Austin Eckler, he's a stud. Can't really say much more about that guy. He's pretty amazing. But after that,
You got a lot of role players. I mean, Spiller and Gainwell, situational. Ronald Jones could be interesting depending on what happens with Saquon.
yeah, I'd be surprised if he's even on the roster to start the season. Ronald Jones is probably done in the league. Cordell Patterson, though, Falcons are going to have a lot of flexibility, moving him around.
He's going to be that wild card that one every 4
Yep.
weeks. He's going to have that blow up game. It's just going to be if you can predict that blow up game.
Absolutely.
Then we get into where he struggles here, little fishy. Sorry, bud, but
Really
you
ain't
have
much to talk about at receiver. I mean, the
no
best one,
wide receivers.
Tyler Boyd. And I mean, if one of the other two get hurt, he's going to be a pretty solid receiver. But outside of that, there really ain't a lot of hope for receiver here.
Yeah, and with
Or tight end, honestly.
yeah, well, he's got Zach Ertz. I mean, depending on what kind of he's about the only receiver they have there in Arizona at this point. I mean, he could still be a solid foundation weekly, but
Yeah, dynasty-wise, not a lot to look at there.
yeah, at least until Murray comes back.
And we're just not going to talk about kickers or defenses because, honestly, those shouldn't even be in the leagues anymore. So hopefully we can work on that and getting those out of there. Draft capital-wise, he's not looking real good there. He doesn't have a first until 25.
It's like he's got quite a number of twos. It looks like, or at least this year, he's got two of them.
He does have 8 picks this year, so he can definitely add some youth to this roster, which it desperately does need.
But it's going to be a lot of flyers. That's going to be the issue, especially late round. Once you get past your pick that he took at 2-7, because that's what 12.
Be the 19th pick.
Yeah,
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, he's not going to have any of the top picks, but he's.
I mean, once you get past 15, you're really kind of starting to look at flyers from there, anyways.
Yep.
So I mean, he's going to have a couple pieces that he can add, but outside of that, he's going to be searching for some help.
All right, well, we'll move on. Team definitely needs some work.
Next up, we have Relax.
All right, relax. And that'll be Team 11. So just diving into that team. Quarterback wise, again, he's sitting pretty good there. Justin Herbert's a stud, and Derek Carr's a solid backup. So,
And then you've got a couple young kids in Ritter and Pickett. I mean, we can continue to watch how they develop.
yep.
So, and if Pickett seems like he could take the next step. He's got the weapons around him, I think. But I also like Ritter's situation too, because he's not going to have to be the one to win them the games.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, he's got good youth. He's got good top end there at quarterback. So
Moving right into running backs, though, is where we start to see the issues.
You got James Conner.
Yeah.
That's going to be it. I mean, talk about a bust with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I way overdrafted him in too many leagues.
The one good year with a loaded offense
Yep.
with LSU, and everybody thought he was the man. And it's
So
like,
many
no,
of us
it was
took.
the wide receivers, Jefferson and Chase,
Yep.
and that team that drove what his whole value.
Yeah, so many took him over Jonathan Taylor. That does not feel good.
I'm glad I was not one of those people.
Wish I could say I wasn't. I mean, receiver. Let's see. He's got Jamar Chase, so he's got. I mean, him and Jefferson. That's one A, one B.
And then he's got Drake London. So,
Yep. So he's got a good up and comer there.
so he can definitely use some more depth.
Yeah, he needs something beyond that. He's not looking real good after that.
And then looking at tight end, you've got
Evan Ingram. I mean, took leave in New York to get back to it, but he's been pretty solid since he left. That at least last season, he was pretty damn good.
well, and he's got a lot better quarterback, I think, as well. With
True.
T-Law over Daniel Jones. Again, we are not going to talk about kickers or defense because they should not be in the league.
Draft capital wise, he's sitting pretty good though. He's got 4 picks in the first 23 this year.
And he's got an extra first next year from Wade as well.
And he's draft capital wise, he's sitting pretty good. He's got a lot of capital there, a lot of ammunition to build this roster. And it needs a lot of help.
He does. And I think his big starting spot is probably going to be running back to try to get something. But
he needs some work.
definitely a lot of work. But again, with the draft coming up, and then we'll see what falls, what ends up happening in free agency as well. So good luck to you. Relax.
Yep. And we'll check out Team 10 next.
Don't hit it.
We got a newbie. Here.
I'm not even sure who this is this year.
This is Dante.
Oh, Dante.
Yep. So this is going to be his first year in Dynasty, I believe.
All right. Welcome to the league, Dante.
And it's good. He's been very active on trades. He's made a lot of trades so far.
Which is good to see, though. People
Yeah.
get active and actually stay
Absolutely.
in touch with their team. So
So
rather than touching themselves all the time.
quarterback wise, he's got Lamar, and and Carson Wentz sucks. So
Yeah.
he's got Lamar Jackson, who's a stud.
Yep. As long as he stays healthy.
Yep.
So that may be an issue he wants to address. But again, we still got free agency in the draft, so we'll see what he ends up doing there. But he doesn't have a lot of draft capital this year. I know that. Because he used a lot of that up in trading.
Yep. Yeah, he doesn't have a first round pick. At least through 2025. He's got a second next year and the year after. So running back.
He's got a solid start with Kamara and Pacheco. I mean, depending on what happens with Kamara's suspension, and at least you know when he comes back, he's going to be rested and healthy, so that's going to be the good thing.
I worry a little bit with Jonathan Williams coming in there for the Saints, stealing some of that goal line work.
Yeah. But at the same time, when you have a young guy like that and you can bring in the veteran at the end of the year, he's going to help you more at the end. Granted, especially in as much as I hate to say, weak NFC South. But
So outside of Kamara, though, he's got Pacheco, who's I'd say a surprise, but it seems like a lot of us kind of knew about him last year before the season started. But
it's because we're Midwest.
Yeah, he played well.
And he runs hard. Like
He
I
does.
said, we saw a lot of angry runs last year
Yep.
with him.
Yep,
So
somebody described it as he runs like he's mad at the ground, which is a good way to put it. He doesn't have anything else outside of that, though.
No, he's going to definitely need to address depth there.
But receiver, he's pretty stacked.
Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb's a stud. Devontae Smith is a stud.
got Ayuk.
Ayuk and Marquise Brown are solid.
Renfro is. We'll see what happens there in Vegas, but he's always been at least that 8 to 12 point kind of guy as long as he's on the field.
And he's got four good receivers to play.
Yeah, so he's set there, and then obviously he's got Kittle at tight end, which is, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be playing.
Again, like we said, he doesn't have a whole lot of draft capital, but he's got a fairly young roster, so we'll see what he can do with it.
See how he continues to finagle and maybe some mid-season trades, maybe to give up something to get a little bit more depth or add a piece. So,
all right, Team 9.
The commish. Fishy fish.
All right. So, Fish's team, huh?
So much purple that it makes me want to spew.
A lot of purple, even if it was some of it's Raven. So, quarterback-wise, we got Kirk Cousins.
And Stafford.
How do you like that? Not very much, but I mean, he's all right. He's solid. I can't hate on Kirk Cousins too much because he puts up numbers. So.
And he's there every week.
Yep.
So you can't hate on that, especially when your backups are Mike White, Stafford, and then
and Stafford's he's definitely closer to the end than the beginning with that elbow issue. He's probably not going to be around too much longer. But hey, Brock Purdy though. He looked pretty good last year. So.
And depending on how quickly he can come back, again, I think he ran that 49ers offense a lot better than what we've seen even from the first early weeks of Trey Lance.
Yep.
And you're talking about a guy that just came in, even though Lance had that full year to sit and learn, it still didn't look as effective as to when Jimmy G came in. And then the offense seemed to step up, but it really seemed to take another step once Purdy came in because he had that confidence. Again, is this just a byproduct of being a Kyle Shanahan system, though? Because it seems like every quarterback, just as long as you follow what Kyle says, you will be just fine.
So running back wise, Dalvin Cook, Viking. Was a Viking.
Was.
Probably not going back there with Madison getting that contract. So
no.
I personally would like to see him go to the Dolphins. I've heard Denver.
I think Denver's going to be the best fit just for opportunity-wise.
With Javonte probably taking
not
a little
back
bit longer.
Till at least the second half of the season. Even by then, again, coming off of those types of injuries, you don't know.
Yep.
Not everybody's AP and can come back and be like, oh, I'm good.
I think we see some movement with that. Him and Hopkins in the next couple, 2-3 weeks before training camp opens up.
Yeah, because they'll want to get in and get the work in and get familiarized. So.
Josh Jacobs, very underrated.
But
absolutely stud last year.
That was a contract year, and we all seem to know what happens with running backs in contract years.
So is this year if he plays under that tag, right?
Oh, that's right. He has not signed an extension yet, so
that could be
another
interesting. Running backs are so undervalued. I can't imagine he gets a contract worth more than annually than the tag is. So
yeah, and especially the way nobody wants to pay a running back anymore, I don't see him getting the type of contract that he wants.
The rest of the depth there is either old or probably
really young. I mean, Keontae Ingram, Haskins, Xavier Knight. I mean, you got a couple options if somebody breaks out, but I mean, I just don't like the idea of Haskins because I think Henry is just
doesn't ever
come off the field.
So yeah, we miss Jeff Wilson, but I mean, Miami's got like 36 running backs, and like I said, I hope they add Dalvin and further bury Jeff Wilson. So receiver wise,
I mean, it's okay. I mean, you've got Sutton who can be solid if Russ can pull his head out of his ass. Oh my God. I like Lockett's situation because I think with them adding JSN, they're gonna make it harder for teams to lock on to those two, even though DK is still, I think, the true number one in that system.
They have a lot to work with there. A lot of weapons in that offense.
And who's the running back they took too? Not last year, Walker, but this year,
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet.
Yep.
I mean, just more weapons for the quarterback, more skill positions. So it could be an interesting offense. Let's see how that defense holds up because they had a solid draft as well.
Tight end, he's actually he's extremely stacked. I mean, Mark Andrews, outside of Kyle Pitts, probably the number one dynasty tight end, and might be over Kyle Pitts because the guy just.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Now that Kyle Pitts maybe has a quarterback that can get the ball within 5 yards.
A little sore on that one. I haven't got anything remotely what I was hoping for so far. But depth-wise, Dalton Schultz,
Jawan Johnson,
Chig, that Chig Okonkwo guy, he's like everybody's sleeper this year for breakout tight end. And then Taysom Hill, who's good for a touchdown now and then, if you could predict that.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how that offense runs, especially now that you have Derek Carr there, because he's not going to get as many opportunities, I think, as he did with just Jameis and everybody else.
Andy Dalton.
So, yeah.
Draft capital-wise, he's got extra first this year. He's got pick 2 and pick 8. And pick 24. He's got his first for the next couple of years, too. No seconds, but, I mean, he's got enough capital there to work with.
Get some young talent and build some pieces in there.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, moving on. Let's see. That'll be team. What are we moving on to? 8?
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second to pull that up because doing this on phones and mine is not as cool as Steve's
We got
apparently.
Brandon with Killer Cards.
All right. Killer Cards. Team 8. Well, quarterback-wise, they are old and slightly less old, but still old. So, I mean,
Wilson and Rodgers. I mean, we'll see if year 2 with the Dangerous works with Sean Payton now. I'm hoping, or I think Payton is a lot better head coach, more suited for the superstar quarterbacks like Russ, because Russ is going to have to respect him.
Yep.
Unlike Hackett, who...
Well, and I really think that was I think they thought they were getting Aaron Rodgers. I really do. So they didn't, and they get settled on Russ, and it just did not work. But he looked good. Russ looked good at the end of the year.
Everybody looks good at the end of the year when they just go back to playing vanilla defenses because nobody wants to give up what they're going to do in the playoffs at that point.
I think Aaron Rodgers, though, is going to have a pretty big year. But again, there's no rushing upside with Aaron Rodgers, so it kind of caps his ceiling there. In today's fantasy football world, you almost got to have some rushing.
Yeah, but at least recently, I mean, he was good for at least 20 a game, which was pretty stout.
Yeah. Yep.
So you will give him that. But again, at some point, is Aaron going to take that step back due to age? How is he going to fit in a new system? New wide receivers, although I really, really, really like Garrett Wilson because I think he could have a phenomenal this year.
I don't think it's going to be much of a new system, though. I think Rodgers is going to be allowed to
do what he wants.
Kind of run his system. You hear about him having these checkdowns and stuff that they don't even have a list of all the different hand signals. It just you just got to know some of them, which is why they always bring in the older receivers that he's played with to help out.
Once you get moving on here to running backs, Najee and Ramondre, along with McKinnon and Michael Carter.
A.J. Dillon as well. A.J. Dillon's interesting. You don't very often get 2 running backs in the same system working out, but him and Aaron Jones can both have their weeks. So,
and I honestly, I think this is going to be the last year with Jones probably in Green Bay. Because I could see them trying to move on from him after this to let Dillon take over because he's getting to that age. Because where they say, oh, you're 28, you can't run the ball no more.
Yeah, that's the way it seems to be.
But, I mean, he's got some solid depth. I mean, depending on what happens with Michael Carter and Breece Hall.
I think Ramondre is going to have a good year. I think they're going to ride him this year and...
You mean now that they have an actual offensive coordinator?
Yeah. I think he's going to have a solid year. Where Najee, I'm a little worried about because Jalen Warren looked really good in the opportunities he got last year.
Well, and some of it was that offensive line was atrocious.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Very bad.
And
Very bad.
they did add a little bit more help around Pickett as well, with Pickett also now being a second-year quarterback. That should hopefully help Najee as well, maybe open it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because teams will be like, okay, we can't completely just dial in on the run. We have to respect a little bit of what they do on the outside.
Yep.
So we'll see how that helps. He could have a step up, or it's going to be, like you said, I think Jalen Warren maybe comes in. I see you try to trade him for him from me, and I was like, no.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up Jalen Warren in some spots. I think he's going to be in for an increased workload this year. We'll jump into his strongest position by far, and he's absolutely loaded at wide receiver. I mean, he's got the number one.
You got Jay Jetta.
1A, Justin Jefferson. He's got DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, and Michael Pittman,
Christian Kirk.
Christian Watson, and Michael Gallup coming off the second year removed from that ACL injury. So, I mean, he is absolutely loaded at wide receiver.
Yeah. No complaints that you can make there. I mean, he's going to be able to play whatever matchups he wants.
Yep.
And if somebody goes down, he has somebody he can put in.
He's got youth, he's got depth, he's got everything you want there. So he's just set at wide receiver.
Tight end.
I see Hunter Henry, and
We got Hunter Henry.
that is it. So he's definitely needs some help at tight end. And honestly, this is the draft to get him in the later.
Yeah.
There's several later round prospects at tight end that.
Well, but
try to-
everybody seems to need a tight end, so it just depends on how
Yeah.
early you feel like or how comfortable you are with taking one of those tight ends, especially typically where they take maybe a year or two to develop.
Yep.
Unlike some, like Kyle Pitts, obviously is a unicorn, or Tony
Yeah,
Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, those type guys. But
Don't
I
see
just
it very
don't see it in this draft, any of those guys with that type of athleticism. So it's just a matter of when you feel comfortable at this point of taking one of those tight ends.
Yeah. Draft capital wise, doesn't have a first until 25. Does have pick 13 this year, which is nearly a first. Early couple of thirds with an early, both kind of early. So draft capital's okay, not great. But again, he's stacked at receiver, so if he wanted to make moves, he's got plenty of players to work with there. All right, we'll move to the
Number
last
7.
team in the second half of the league,
Queen Fish.
Queen Fish, which is just funny that she's like 3 spots ahead of
Her husband.
Fish. That's pretty good. like seeing that. Maybe she can offer some advice to Fish to help him out. Quarterback wise, stacked. I mean,
Mahomes, Fields.
Mahomes he's probably top 3, and Fields actually has a chance to probably jump into the top 5 if everything works out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's
and they did the big thing in getting him some offensive line help
and
again.
DJ Moore.
Yeah. Gave him a true number 1 to go with Mooney and the other kid.
Yep.
Can't think of his name right now.
Neither can I.
Running backs, I mean, Dobbins, we'll see. I mean, Rashad White should be the man down there in Tampa. Granted, I don't know what to expect from Tampa because their quarterback play is going to be suspect at best.
Yeah, it's either Baker or Trask, it looks like. So, I mean, either way, you're not super excited about your
I
quarterback
think they're in
position.
the Caleb Williams hunt. They might be trying to tank,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to out-tank the Cardinals, though.
yeah.
We'll see.
But she does also, she's got Damian Pierce sitting here on the bench. So obviously Pierce should be a stud or has been a stud, at least so far.
But he doesn't have the draft capital, so they could just replace him, too. But we'll see. Running backs, she's okay, but not deep.
Yeah. She's got some solid pieces there.
Receiver, though, Amon-Ra, that guy's been pretty dang good. And especially in a PPR league like this one is, Amon-Ra is a stud.
He's
Devontae
good.
Adams,
Enough said. It's Devontae. As long as he's not beating up people.
The only questionable thing I have about Devontae Adams this year is the quarterback he's playing with. Right now, it's maybe Jimmy G,
Yeah.
if he's healthy. Otherwise,
We got trash.
there isn't really anything back behind him. So,
Again, that's where maybe we could see a Matt Ryan come out of retirement, per se. Or, well, step back from the booth or whatever it is that he's doing. But,
you better hope Jimmy G's there. Otherwise, you may have some issues with your quarterback. Backups.
she's got Mooney. I like that. She's got a young guy there with Jalen Tolbert, who you seem to be pretty high on.
I've heard good things coming out so far, but I mean, he's buried for this year. He's at best fourth on the depth chart for this year. So, tight end, she's got Njoku, Everett, but she's got Pitts down here. Kyle Pitts, again, he's either the first or second dynasty tight end in most people's rankings.
Coming back healthy this year, and again, with probably a little bit better supporting cast now, too. With Bijan, Drake, and a quarterback who can throw the ball within 5 yards.
And draft capital, since she makes 0 trades, she has all of her original picks and no extras. So, I mean, draft capital's okay.
Yeah, she's good there. Pays attention to what she's doing.
So we'll move into the top half.
Starting at 6, we got Jarvis.
Number 6. All right. Let's go into quarterback. Let's see. Tua and Hurts. Hurts look really, really good. And since they didn't outlaw this whole push the quarterback from behind thing, he's going to score several touchdowns from doing so.
I have him in a few leagues, and I am ecstatic because I think he's just going to continue with A.J. Brown. I don't care who they put in the backfield there, because I think what they have on the outside is going to be more than enough. And I personally think it would be funny to see Zeke or Dalvin go there, just because that offense would be ridiculous.
Well, who they got there now? They got DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny.
Yep.
Penny looks good when he's healthy, which isn't very often.
But when healthy, the dude runs hard. So.
And then in Tua, if Tua can stay healthy, I mean, he looked really good last year.
I'm pretty sure he looks at the sun, though, and gets a concussion. So I think
those were nasty. Those were nasty last year. So running back, he's got probably the running back one in redraft, at least, with Christian McCaffrey.
Khalil Herbert could be a breakout. I mean, you got Elijah Mitchell, James Cook,
Penny,
Gibson, depending on what Washington's offense looks like.
I keep hearing they're going to use him, but I keep hearing that every year, and then it doesn't quite happen.
Because I don't think Ron Rivera knows that he has running backs.
Yeah. Well, and I doubt Gibson's going to get somebody else to shoot fucking Robinson again. So, I mean, one time is probably all you get for that one. Didn't quite capitalize, so we'll see. Receiver-wise, he's got Stefan Diggs, Tyreek. He's stacked at receiver. Jerry Jeudy.
And then he's also got Brandon Cooks, Devin Duvernay, Kendall Hinton. I mean, I like Cooks for the depth, but really, he's got the 3. Not a lot of depth.
Really high end. He's stacked at the top. And we missed James Cook. James Cook's interesting at running back. If they don't go out and get a Dalvin or something like that, which Dalvin kind of sounds like he doesn't want to take work from his brother. So,
well, let's see how much Damian Harris. I think Damian Harris is going to take a lot of the goal line, so that's where I think Cook's going to have to be that Singletary. Like, he has to break one in order to really get that touchdown, because once they get inside that 10-5, it's going to be Damian Harris.
They could throw to him quite a bit. So we'll see on that. Tight end, Noah Fant. Trey McBride's interesting, but for this year, I would be looking to upgrade that or stream tight end, because you're in trouble at tight end.
Yeah, I mean,
again, maybe he picks one up in the draft. He doesn't have any early picks. Pick 22 will be the first one.
1 in the 30. He's got a bunch of late round picks.
Has most of his picks for the next couple of years, other than his second next year. So draft capital isn't terrible.
Definitely could add some depth pieces. Really.
Well, we'll move on to Team 5.
Right. That is going to be mine and Andy's team here. Chronic.
5. So let's talk about Andy and Koop's team here. Chronic.
Again, obviously, Kyler is going to be done for at least half the year. Same with Jimmy. But the way Jared Goff has played, I can't complain. He's been a top 10 quarterback, and I like what they've done with the offense. For a guy that we thought was just going to be like, okay, he's going to be our bye week guy, he's probably turned into our most consistent quarterback.
Yep. Poland Milf's got you points. You got Zach Wilson. So,
if we got points for having sex with other players' moms, we'd be top of the league. But
he'd be right there. So the one thing with Kyler, we'll say, even though he is going to miss part of this year, I'm almost sure of it. But whether Arizona decides to move on or not, he is young. He's got the upside of that rushing, so I think he's going to be okay wherever he ends up.
I could see where if Cousins doesn't sign any extension, I could see him ending up in like a Minnesota, say next year, to be like, hey, he'll have a better offensive line, he'll have better weapons, obviously, than what he'll have this year.
That'd be interesting, actually.
And I think he would work well in that system because Kevin O'Connell seems to be very prophetic towards running and keeping a balance, which is something that you haven't seen in Arizona.
Yeah.
With what they've done. Again, things are going to change now this year. No Cliff Kingsbury. He's off in Thailand or whatever, banging those chicks, or little boys, who knows.
Running back, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, stacked at the top. DeAndre Swift, pretty decent depth.
And we got Jamal, Samaje, and Melvin Gordon, which Melvin's probably going to be a drop because
he's done. Yeah. He's done.
Again, Samaje is going to be interesting because, again, if Denver doesn't do anything, he's going to be that starter until really Javonte comes back. Plus, an interesting stat I've seen is that he actually had the highest points per game of any running back during the games he played.
Yeah, whenever he got on the field for Cincinnati, he looked pretty decent. He looked better than Joe Mixon.
So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. I think we got some options, and then
let's see, receiver. We got
McLaurin, Evans, Pickens, Debo, Elijah Moore. So, I think we're pretty solid. We've got a good mix.
Yeah, you don't have that, top guy, but you have a whole bunch of people kind of
that
in that
5 to 25 range.
Yep. And you got Kelsey. So,
yeah.
And PPR league, Kelsey just dominates other tight ends. So, draft capital looks fine. You basically got all your picks other than your second this year. So
it's because I have to keep Andy from trading everything.
Well, you've done a good job because in the last year, just you and just Chronic and Queenfish have not made any trades.
Didn't?
Nope.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was too when I looked. I wasn't so surprised at Queenfish, but I was surprised that you guys hadn't made a trade. Didn't show up on that report, at least. So, all right. We will move on to Team 4, which, if I remember right, is going to be my
Smokers
team.
Haven. Still fucking stealing my name.
Yep, every time. Every time. So, I've got Dak.
Start making you pay me copyrights.
I have nothing else outside of Dak.
Gonna need some help there.
Well, I plan on doing that.
So,
honestly, I plan on doing that at pick 5.
So everybody knows.
Hopefully I get my guy.
Running backs. Chubb, Jones, can't complain. See what happens with Kareem Hunt. Damian Harris and Montgomery and Madison. Madison is a huge bump, obviously, now that you know he's the starter there in Minnesota, and you got your Jalen Warren there, too.
I've been holding Madison for so long and so many rosters. I'm hoping it pays off finally.
Well, you will find out this year, finally.
I'm happy. And then Jalen Warren, we talked about earlier, I really think he has some upside there. Receiver, I'd like to say I'm pretty stacked.
Let's see. We got Waddle, Higgins, who I love. Again, they're the number twos, but really they could be number ones.
Exactly. They're the number twos on their teams, but they could be wide receiver ones in fantasy for sure.
And then with Michael Thomas, Big Mike Williams, Deontay, and then Jameson once he comes back. I still think that's a bullshit suspension.
Yeah, that's.
I'm
dumb.
sorry, as long as you're not betting on your own sport.
Yep.
Why does it matter where you're doing the betting? It's
league
legal.
got betting commercials
Yeah.
all over the place, everywhere you watch it. So yeah, it's dumb.
A little hypocritical on that.
Also got Amari Cooper, who, if Deshaun Watson takes a step forward, from last year, finds himself a masseuse he likes or something, Amari Cooper really could be pretty solid.
And then D
Hopkins, we'll see where he goes.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to flourish anywhere he goes, so it's just a matter of when he signs and going, okay, you're going to roll with him every week because he's that good.
Tight end, I've got a whole bunch of them, but I'm not really happy with any of them. We'll see what happens at Cole Kmet and Higbee and Otten, Dolchich. We'll see.
Well, and your dark horse, Jake Ferguson, I mean, Cowboys didn't draft.
Oh, they did. I can't Schoonmaker or some shit
Okay,
like that.
in the late rounds.
I have no idea who he is.
Again, that'll be something maybe keep an eye out during training camps to see who's going to take that. But, I mean, you would assume Ferguson, where he's already been there a year, knows the offense, should have that lead. So at least you should hopefully, in theory, have another starting tight end.
I hope so. Again, I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be between those guys I have on my roster and just trying to play the best matchup. Draft capital, sitting there with, I got that pick 5 I mentioned, some late picks, and I've got most of my picks looks like all my picks for the next couple of years.
Well, they're not your picks, but you have picks.
True.
You got Jarvis's second round and Wade's third round next year. But then looks like everything else is your own. So, I mean, you're sitting solid on draft capital.
We'll dive into the top 3.
Number 3, House Gordon.
House Gordon. All right.
Which one is this? Is that Aaron? No.
Nope. House Gordon, he's been here since the founding of this league.
Oh, okay. I think I know who that is.
We got Daniel Jones. We got Geno Smith, who was a massive surprise last year.
Baker and Mac. Mac and cheese. I'm interested to see what happens with the mac and cheese this year. Because, again, they have an actual offensive coordinator. I'd like what they've done. I liked Keyshawn Boutte that they added in the draft. I think he was way undervalued.
Yeah. He's got such a weird career so far. I mean, he broke out freshman year. I mean, he tore it up in college, and then he kind of got hurt and kind of just faded. And then did he even get drafted?
Yeah, he went in like the 4th round.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's one of those things. This is what Belichick does. He gets those guys that I think LSU had a lot of hype, but they didn't have all the talent around them like they had in years past.
That's true.
And then now that, okay, Boutte was really the key firework for them in their offense and the lone explosive player. So let's see if he can, because if he can transition that to the NFL, and now that he's going to have talent around him, he could be an explosion, which could help Mac Jones. Again, we got Juju. So you've got the explosive, you got the guy that can take the short catches. You can kind of really cover all areas of the field, and they're going to run the ball.
This is going to be this is it for Mac Jones. So this will be his last year if he doesn't show something to Belichick. He's going to move on. I like Daniel Jones just because of the rushing. And that rushing is so... It's like a cheat code for fantasy. When you get rushing.
He's a sneaky, fast white guy.
He is. As long as he doesn't get tripped up.
By the turf monster?
Yep. He is quick. So running back, Tony Pollard, big upgrade this year. Even if Zeke comes back, Pollard's going to be the guy this year.
Is he going to be healthy, though, for the start of the year?
Pollard's, yeah. Yep, okay. He's ready. Same with Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be ready to go. Miles Sanders, I think, is in a great spot with Carolina.
He's going to see a lot of touches.
Yep,
especially with a young quarterback.
I think he's going to have a big year.
Not a lot of
being drafted.
Not a lot of depth though at running back here after that, because I mean Deontay Foreman and Chase Edmonds.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
really.
Foreman could maybe get you a touchdown here or there, but they've got a kind of a crowded backfield with Herbert and Rashawn Johnson, the rookie.
Yeah, you're going to see another RBC, I think, with
Yep.
that. And it's going to be a matter of who gets the touches that week. So,
Receiver, I love me some Chris Olave.
Juju.
He's gonna be so good. Yeah, Juju. I think he's gonna be all right for New England this year.
Zay Jones, Odell, Isaiah McKenzie, Chark, who I think could have a solid year as like the 2-3. I don't know. I still
trying to
think
figure out why
Carolina
this team
needs a
is
number
number
one, but
He's got a lot of receivers, just not a lot of top end receivers. He's got himself Hawkinson though. I really like Hawkinson. That move to Minnesota
seemed to benefit him a lot.
A lot.
I just don't think he was getting used the way he needed to in Detroit because he just didn't fit their style.
Oh, I think I see why this team's number 3. They have 4 picks in the first 16. Including 4, 10, 14, and 16. That's quite a bit of draft capital, and all the rest of their they've got Cards pick next year in the second. They got the rest of their picks. So draft capital, he's going to be able to add quite a bit this year to that team.
And get a lot of good value, too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that team has a
let's
pretty solid starting roster.
see what kind of value gets added in the draft. So, be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah. Yep.
Next, number 2, Jay fucking Leno.
Number 2, Jay Leno. All right, let's do it. Joe Burrow, stud. He's fantastic.
But
Not sure on Malik Willis, and it doesn't seem like Tennessee is either because they went out and drafted Levis.
yep, in the second round,
Yeah.
which I feel bad for Willis because I mean the kid seems like he just needs the time.
He's not
didn't-
going to get it, I don't think.
No.
No.
And especially with Tannehill's kind of injury history and he's getting up there in age, you saw it in the first couple of games when they put him out there. He just
Yeah. This
Did
is
not.
probably it for Tannehill, and then we'll probably see Levis. So, running back, Kenneth Walker. We'll see. He looked amazing last year. They added Charbonnet. Not sure why.
and then you got
Who
Joe
knows what
Mixon,
Pete Carroll's doing. Yeah, Joe Mixon.
you got Singletary. I really like Algier, but again, he's going to be in that crazy backfield.
Adding Bijan and
Yep.
Brian Robinson.
And then Javante, depending on when he comes back, could be really solid.
Good running backs, honestly. A lot of depth. And running backs tough to get.
Yeah.
So, but probably his strongest position. With A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore.
Solid
see
wide
about
receivers.
Bateman.
I mean, Bateman, if he comes back and Lamar is healthy and you can really develop that rapport with them adding Zay Flowers, it should
And
hopefully, it should allow Bateman to flourish because he's the bigger of the guys. So he's going to probably still get those deep targets.
Yep.
But it's not going to be the over the top ones. It's just going to be that middle to deep to where you'll have Odell on the short as well. So I think he could be an interesting play this year. A guy you were high on a couple years ago, David Bell.
But yeah, he's a rookie last year. Never really got
Fair shot.
any time in Cleveland. So, and they added Elijah Moore. So I'm not really sure on David Bell anymore.
But I do like Romeo Dobbs. I think depending on how Jordan Love is, I mean, he could be a sneaky play along with that. And then you got Alex Pierce and Sky Moore.
Sky Moore is interesting, and just because of the offense he plays in.
Yeah.
Anytime you got a Chiefs player,
There's always a chance.
yep. Although, when you look at outside of Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, like Mahomes said last year, it really is just anybody. So
Well, and even they didn't even have Tyreek Hill last year.
It was
I
just
mean,
Kelsey and then a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I mean, really, Kelsey's the only consistent one that you have.
Yep.
So, an interesting offense, but it's run by Pat Mahomes, so
And he's got Dallas Goedert, solid tight end.
does what he does, and then Foster Moreau, who
Pretty impressive. Kind of a miracle. He got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then he's going to be at training camp. It sounds like like that's crazy. But fantasy wise, probably not all that relevant. Draft capital, absolutely loaded. He's got to be the number one draft. I haven't seen the number one team yet overall, but this has to be the number one team draft capital. Got 2 firsts this year, 2 firsts next year, 3 seconds next year, 2 firsts in 25. I mean, he's just absolutely loaded up with draft picks. So if he's able to capitalize on some of those to add to the solid roster he's already got, this could be a team that's dangerous for a while.
Again, health. That's going to be a lot of it, though, too. I mean, because right now he's one quarterback injury away from...
True. Yep. And depth there, he definitely needs some depth at quarterback. And we got the number one team. And I don't even need to know who it is because he sandbagged his way to it.
Fucking Wade.
We got Wade. His roster is just stupid loaded. He's got 2 first round picks this year, 1 and 3. So Bijan and who's ever left at 3 there for him. 2 firsts next year, 2 seconds next year, a first and 2 seconds in 25. Draft capital is sitting pretty good, but roster wise, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, just looking over, I mean, you get Josh Allen. I mean, Tannehill's. I mean, quarterback depth could be the issue.
If Josh Allen gets hurt, he's fucked anyway. So
doesn't
matter.
He's like Leno. If that starter goes down, you're going to be in trouble.
And when you're sitting with the top 3 guy, if he gets hurt, you're probably done anyways.
Yeah. Running backs are solid, though, with Breece Hall, ETN. Cam Akers is okay. I mean, he looked good at the end of last year.
He really did. Yep. After that weird thing where it was like, oh, he's done playing for the Rams. They're going to trade him. They don't trade him.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he starts playing and he looked pretty good.
Oh, and then he's, like you said, he's got 1-1, so he's going to be adding Bijan.
Yep. So running back, when you look at having Bijan in there too, he's set. I mean, he's stacked at running back.
Wide receivers, we've already talked about Wilson, how the Aaron Rodgers effect.
Yeah, outside of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, I think Wilson's probably will be in that next tier after them with the Cooper Cup.
Yep. And then Calvin Ridley, who I think him coming back, having that year off, his body's going to be healthy. Hopefully he's mentally okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see him succeed because that also gets Atlanta, could potentially be a 2nd-round pick. So that's huge.
And he's paired with Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, he's definitely got a lot of upside.
Well, and then you still got Kirk, Ingram. You've got weapons all over the field. You got ETN in the backfield. So I think it could be a really interesting offense there. So he's got some good depth there.
I like Jahan Dotson.
Yep. Traylon Burks. I'm not sure who Kyle Phillips is. That's probably just his one white guy that he likes to take as a wide receiver.
Probably not going to be there. Tight end, sitting with Darren Waller, who's in a new situation, but
we'll see. I think offensively with Brian Dable, I think Dable's going to use him a lot better than what he was being used in Oakland or Vegas.
Yeah, there's a good chance he's the target leader. Maybe him and Barkley, because their receivers are kind of lacking. So.
And then you got Conklin, and I like Freiermuth.
Yeah.
He's solid. And Isaiah Likely. Because eventually, if anything happens to Andrews, I think the way Likely played last year in the couple games that Andrews was absent worked out really, really well. And he's just that big-bodied, almost a Kyle Pitts type, but not quite as fast.
Yep. So, he's definitely set himself up after sandbagging for the last couple of years. Got himself a pretty good team going there. It's going to be dangerous. So, all right. Well, that is all 12 teams, 12-1. First time doing this, I think it went pretty well, actually.
Yeah, not too bad. I'm pretty sure they're all going to be pissed off at us. And
Well, we weren't too harsh with them. So
at least not this time. We'll wait till after the draft
when we could have been more harsh.
When we can actually start calling them on their reaches for picks and such. So
sure, yep, we'll definitely come back and do another one once the rookies are on the teams and see how everything looks. So
we have to reevaluate at that time. So we'd like to appreciate y'all for listening to us and come on back to Tokens Corner whenever you're ready.
Should we do the stupid like, share, and subscribe thing?
Might as well.
I don't even know where this is going to be at, so they may not have a like, share, and subscribe option. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful season, and again, we'll be back with you
Probably after the draft.
Yeah, after the draft. So talk to you later.
Tokers out.